agree with me that this presentation is really packed, and there were a lot of issues that need to be discussed. And therefore, we have two discussants who would be unpacking it for us, who would be engaging with the key themes that have been raised. The first person to help us in terms of discussing some of the issues raised by Professor Olusola in his presentation is Professor Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb, who is the president of A.G.E.N.D.A University in Morocco. Professor Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb is an esteemed expert in artificial intelligence and a distinguished member of the Academy of Sciences, Mathematics, Physics, Chemistry, and Natural Sciences of Granada in Spain. His innovative projects include an intelligent experimental farm in Larache that leverages AI for optimized irrigation and plant disease management using the big data and image analysis. Currently, he serves as the president of A.G.E.N.D.A University in Kenitra. Professor Kerkeb has previously held significant positions, including Dean of the Faculty of Multidisciplinary Studies in Larache and a director of the Computer Resources Center, also in the university. In these roles, he developed key information systems such as the Doctoral Cycle Management System, the Moroccan Scientific Research Innovation System, and the Moroccan University Corporation Information System. Internationally, Professor Kerkeb has chaired the Global Scientific Council of the French-speaking University Agency, AUF, which is the largest global university network with over 1,000 member institutions across 5 continents. He earned his PhD from the University of Granada, Spain in 1993, and has authored over 200 indexed books and scientific publications, as well as supervised numerous theses in material physics, information systems, and artificial intelligence. If Professor Kerkeb is connected, Prof, would like to see you. And let's note that Prof may be speaking French based on his language of preference. As I indicated, there's the interpretation option that is available to us, so we can get ready to tune in to listen from there if Prof speaks French. Our first question to Prof would be to try and get a sense of his general impressions following the presentation. So would like him to please share his general impressions and reflections on the keynote address in terms of telling us what stood out for him and what he generally thinks about the presentation just made by Professor Olusola Oyewole. Prof, you have the floor if you are connected.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have been invited to the official celebration of the African Universities Days. It is a privilege to address you on this special occasion. I would also like to express my deep appreciation for the inspiring presentation by the Secretary General of the AAU. His talk was particularly enlightening and provoked deep reflection on the future of education in Africa. It's true, despite our progress, we must acknowledge that the challenge is far from being one in Africa. The figure remains as the magnitude of the issue: poverty, economic challenge, health problems, and insufficient access to electricity and the internet. These realities compel us to redouble our effort to turn these challenges into opportunities for our continent.
Thank you very much. Would move on to then invite the next discussant as well, in the person of full Professor Ferrari Meyers, who holds a PhD in French and Francophone literature, autofiction, and autobiography, and she has 4 MA degrees, MA in linguistics, English, LLM, as well as others. And she has a strong track record in teacher development in Southern African context and expertise in the area of blended distance and e-learning and teaching. Her research interests are varied from teacher training, ODL, open education, open schooling, teacher professional development, artificial intelligence, online facilitation, among others. She has published over 100 papers, various book chapters, 2 books, and more than 100 book reviews. She enjoys working collaboratively and has been tasked with leading of project teams on several occasions. She works with the Institute of Distance Education, University of Eswatini, in Eswatini, and is a research fellow at the University of Free State, South Africa. If Professor Ferrari Meyers is connected, would equally want to invite you and to hear about your general impressions and reflections following Professor Olushola Oyewale's keynote address.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. It's a real honor for me as well to be here with all of you today on this special occasion. And let me start by saying that I have really appreciated and enjoyed the keynote address by Professor Oyewale. It was both insightful and very thought-provoking, and it highlighted really the critical issues that we all face in African education and development. For me, one of the standout moments was the emphasis on the role of the youth in shaping Africa's future. Your call, Prof, for educational reforms resonated deeply because this is something we tackle in the diverse university settings that we see all around the continent. So particularly your assertion that universities must evolve to equip students with the skills necessary for the 21st century. Life and education are changing rapidly, and I think one of the most revolutionizing aspects of this is really the integration of artificial intelligence. You also shared some very harsh and stark statistics regarding Africa's contribution to global research outputs. These are very alarming, and they prompt reflection on the urgent need for systemic changes to enhance our research capacity and research quality across the whole continent. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. And maybe just to follow up, because of your last statement, in terms of how Africa is really contributing less than 1.5% to global research output. So if you would have practical experience to share in terms of how, for instance, is your university encouraging researchers to increase their research output, and what strategies have really proven to be effective in overcoming some of the barriers that limits the production of high quality research?
Thank you for that follow-up question. There are some of the reflections and the thoughts that come out of research more than what is happening at my institution in particular. We have our specific barriers to some of these, but I just want to say that one of the ways to do so is to incentivize research. So there are many institutions now that are establishing or that have established grant programs and funding opportunities specifically aimed at encouraging young faculty members, but also students to engage in high quality research. So incentivizing research seems to be one of the solutions. The next one that has worked very well and in my environment, in my research environment, are really those collaborative research networks where universities under the leadership of AAU are forming partnerships with international institutions, with other universities, to really facilitate knowledge exchange and knowledge access, and also access to resources, which enhances research capabilities. That, to me, also goes hand in hand with capacity building workshops. At the moment, I am doing a workshop with a university in South Africa, where we are building capacity on artificial intelligence. So those type of regular training sessions are organized to improve researchers' skills, in proposal writing, but also in data analysis and in publication processes. And I also think that the AAU is doing a wonderful job in organizing such. Finally, I want to make a short point on infrastructure development, where investment in research facilities and technology have to be made to provide us, the researchers, our student researchers, with the tools we need to conduct high quality studies. So I think those are some of the strategies that research findings have shown to be, full of potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe we'll cross over to Professor Kerkeb. One of the key issues that was raised in the Secretary General's presentation related to funding for higher education, and funding seems to be a core, challenge that we are faced with. So the question then is that what innovative strategies have worked, or are you aware of, that can help African institutions in terms of securing sustainable funding? And what role should government and private sector play in this partnerships in terms of in this area? You are encouraged to please feel free to add any practical examples that you know of, which would be useful to all of us connected here.
Okay, first of all, universities must innovate to secure sustainable funding. First of all, as I say, by diversifying their revenue stream. This can include creating partnership with the private sector to fund research and develop innovative projects. University can also develop continuing education program and consultancy service for business, thus generating additional income. Partnership with government and the private sector play a crucial role in supporting university funding. Government can offer tax incentive to encourage private investing in higher education, while the private sector can bring funds. Research and expertise in innovation and management are also very important. This collaboration can help align university program with labor market need, thus enhancing graduate employability. However, this is not an easy task. It is essential for the private sector to be fully engaged in this process. Their involvement is crucial for the success of such partnership and for ensuring that universities can effectively contribute to economic and social development. These highlight the importance of active participation from the private sector.
Thank you very much for that response as well. Do you really feel that private sector are engaged enough as far as delivery of higher education is concerned, or are we as higher education institutions equally engaging the private sector, for instance, in the development of our curriculum, in the training of our students? What do you feel about that engagement level as we speak?
I think, as I say, it's not an easy task. I think governments must also do something to promote this collaboration. I told about the tax incentive. It is very important to work on incentive, tax incentive to how can I say, how to convince the private sector to invest in universities and in education.
Okay, thank you very, very much for that. We'll cross over to Prof. Karen. One of the key points also in the keynote presentation related to mainly underscoring how important education is to Africa's development. There were a host of challenges which Prof projected, challenges related to maternity rates. He raised the issue of poverty still being very rife on the continent, amongst others. In your view, what would you say is the single most important change needed in the education sector to significantly contribute to Africa's development?
Wow, thank you very much for that question. That is a really difficult one. What would be the single one important aspect that we can bring into education? I think for me, one of the things that is lacking is practical experience. So even though we look at universities to be a basis from where young learners, young students can build on, I think it's very important to at least incorporate some of the practical experience through internships, through apprenticeships, hands-on projects, really built into or integrated into the curricula so that the students can experience a real-world environment and enhance their employability. And that, to me, goes hand in hand with also fostering entrepreneurship. We find that students leaving the university are basically, I'm going to use a harsh word, are basically incapable of finding their own way. So that's, for me, is one of the things that we need to look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Would love to hear Prof. Kerkeb's thoughts on this same question as well, in terms of what we should be prioritizing to make.
There are many, but for me, the most impactful change needed in Africa education sector is to prioritize practical, skill-based learning aligned with the continent's socio-economic realities and future job markets. This shift entire integrating hands-on technical skills, entrepreneurship, digital literacy, and critical soft skills, starting from primary through tertiary education, by fostering a curriculum that combines traditional knowledge with applicable skills such as digital fluency, problem solving, adaptability. Education can empower young Africans to drive local innovation and thrive into evolving job markets. To achieve this, African educational institutions will need to develop local talent pipeline that address specific industry needs, such as agriculture, renewable energy, healthcare, and technology. Partner with private sector, as I said before, private sector stakeholder to create co-ops, internship, and mentorship opportunity is very important to offer students real-world experience. And invest in digital infrastructure is very important. It can ensure accessibility and quality digital education across rural and urban areas, bridging gaps in resources. A practical skill-based education shift will better equip Africa's young people to harness their potential and foster sustainable continent-wide economic growth.
Thank you very much. I think both of you were thinking along the same lines in terms of really ensuring that students are being equipped with practical skills and, through things, initiatives such as internships and others. So we really want to appreciate you for that. I'm sure people have questions as well. Just a reminder for us to post our questions via the Q&A button. There would also be opportunity for people to raise their hands to engage with the discussants as well as the Secretary General following this very session. Just a follow-up to Prof. Kerkeb as well. On the issue of digital literacy in underserved communities, this was also reflected in the address about the fact that digital literacy is very crucial in the 21st century. But you would agree with me that yet many students from underserved communities do lack access to these skills. So how can government and universities collaborate to ensure digital literacy from early years, really not only at the university or tertiary level, but from early years, especially in these underserved areas? What should we be doing? Thank you.
Digital literacy, especially in underserved community, is a major topic. Ensuring digital literacy from an early age, especially in underserved areas, requires strategic partnership between African governments and universities to close the digital divide and empower the next generation. Here is how this collaboration could unfold effectively. First of all, university and government education body could work together to design and implement age-appropriate digital literacy curricula starting from the primary level. This curriculum could include basic digital skills, online safety, and responsible technology use, creating a foundation for the future learning, for example. Government could focus on providing basic digital infrastructure in underserved regions, such as internet access, while universities could contribute by setting up satellite learning centers or mobile digital labs that bring technology to remote communities. Public-private partnership can be crucial here to secure funding and resources. Universities can also collaborate with ministries of education to develop teacher training programs focused on digital literacy skills, equipping educators in underserved areas to integrate digital tools into their classroom effectively. I think that working together, university and government can create culturally relevant and linguistically appropriate digital content that resonate with local communities, making digital learning more accessible and impactful for young students.
Yeah. I would like to ask Prof. Ferrari Meyers if she would want to contribute to this question as well. Given your
Absolutely.
background.
Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely. In addition to what my esteemed colleague has just noted, I think it's also very important that we ensure there is community engagement so that the digital literacy initiatives are sustainable. Very often we come in as government or as universities with initiatives, but we don't have the community buy-in. And so they work for a little while and then they are completely abandoned. I'm also thinking that in the rural areas in particular, we really need specialized approaches, perhaps something like mobile training units or offline learning solutions, also solar-powered solutions so that the devices are available. And when we think of the private sector inclusion, they also have their role to play. I'm also thinking that many of the students at the universities have brilliant ideas, and perhaps if we can fund some of the startups, that would also be a good way to improve some of the initiatives that exist. So I think those were the little points I would like to add to what had already been said. Thank you.
Those are excellent. I absolutely agree, especially with the last point about funding startups. Mostly students undertake research and write their thesis, write their dissertations, and then it ends on shelves. I think it's one of the key issues AAU has been advocating, that we need to move from keeping new innovations on the shelves to actual implementation. So I fully agree. There's another issue about how do we ensure that there's inclusivity for physically impaired students, because there are limited opportunities for these students, including those who are deaf and blind. What steps should stakeholders take to create sort of a more inclusive environment for these learners? Are there specialized institutions and support systems at the continental levels, or even in country, catering to the needs of these marginalized groups? And perhaps maybe to expand the discussion more broadly to other marginalized groups, because it's beyond just those who are physically impaired. Thank you.
And would you like me to...
So that was a question to you. Yes, please.
Okay,
yes,
all right. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so there's also, again, a whole...
Okay. it appears Prof has some network challenges. So maybe I would like to invite, okay.
So
we lost you for a bit. Maybe you can start again.
Okay, let me start again. Yeah, it just told me that my internet connectivity is a bit unstable. So policy implementation. So we often have beautifully crafted policies on diversity, on inclusivity, but then we don't really implement, or we don't monitor the implementation and the follow-up. So that for me would be one part of the solution, or the beginning of a solution. Then I think also educators need training to deal with diverse learners with different needs, be they physical needs or mental needs. You know, sometimes we even have very gifted learners and we don't know how to really assist them to get all the potential out of the different types of students. So understanding the specific needs and adapting the way we teach, the teaching methods, the pedagogical ways of dealing with the students is something that we need specialized training for. Very often this is still done in silos, where you have training for specific educators. But I think throughout the system, we all need to be trained on that. And then I think we also need specific support systems, counseling, academic assistance, tailored for these students. And I want to share with you a recent development at my university, where we now have a room, well, a big classroom that was completely revamped and now is open to people with diverse learning needs, so that they can be assisted in a particular way that is needed for them. So that collaboration with specialized institutions is the last part I wanted to highlight. There are specialized institutions that work with learners with diverse needs, and they should come in to help us general educators to learn about this and to be able to really support the learners with diverse needs, so that we can be as inclusive as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those are excellent submissions. It would also require us to reach out to those institutions that are really in that field. So it's a two-way street, really. They should reach out to us. We should equally engage them, so that we can really serve the needs of the students in our universities and on our campuses with those special needs. So thank you very much, Prof. Maybe we'll cross over to Morocco on the topic of educating team, underlining Prof. Oyewele's presentation. What innovative approaches are your universities implementing, or generally from the other ones that you may be aware of within your space, to ensure that graduates possess the necessary skills and competencies? He mentioned some soft skills, communication skills, decision-making skills, ethical skills, a number of them. How do we ensure that students that we are training in our universities graduate with all these critical skills that he mentioned to thrive in the 21st century? That is to Prof. Mohamed Kerkeb.
Thank you for the question. Moroccan universities have placed the development and quality of its human capital as the core of its development strategy. To thrive in the 21st century, aiming to align Moroccan university with international standard and value of social inclusion, gender equity, and social responsibility. Key initiatives include, first of all, pedagogical reform, modernizing academic pathway with input from socioeconomic actors, enhancing transversal skills as languages, culture, digital, artificial intelligence, and promoting extracurricular activity. Internationalization is also a very important topic. Internationalization by promoting academic mobility and strengthening the cooperation with African universities, positioning Morocco as continental hub for higher education and scientific research. We also try to boost scientific research by launching program for new generation doctoral monitor and creating thematic research institute focused on priority sector as water, health, energy. I can speak also about educator training by developing competencies for primary, secondary, and university educator through specialized training program. Finally, I can say that we established, first of all, the African Institute for Lifelong Learning and launching leadership training for women, such as leadership courses. All these efforts aim to build a solid foundation for sustainable socioeconomic development and to foster talent and innovation with a significant impact on Morocco and its African partners.
Thank you, Prof. Maybe just to add up, I would like to ask Prof. Karin to equally add up to what you just, to your response, because in Prof. Oyewale's presentation, it really underscored the crucial and central role of Africa's youth to, the continent's development. So in addition to what Prof expounded in his presentation, as well as what Professor Mohamed Kerkeb has just said, which other ways can universities better align their programs to equip Africa's youth with these practical skills and soft skills that are needed for the 21st century?
I want to start by saying that universities, in my opinion, need to be a little bit more proactive and react to what is out there. So we can see what's going on, but it takes us a long time to set up programs that can help the communities, the young learners, the students. And so I think that's one of the things that is for me critical, for us to be a little bit more alert and change things in a more rapid way. I just want to give two examples of what my university is doing at the moment. So we have two short courses that we have started with, one in 2022 and one just recently in 2024. The first one is a certificate course for online teaching for educators that we do completely online over a course of 4 weeks. And then the second one is one that is about artificial intelligence for educators. So there we are really focusing on different skills, including prompt engineering, for people to really use AI tools in a significant manner that has an impact on what they are doing out there in education. So it's open to all educators. It is a 6-week course with 4 modules that are compulsory for everyone, and then a 5th one that looks at artificial intelligence and research. So I think we are really trying to find a way to quickly react to the needs on the ground when it comes to young learners and students, but also educators in the field, bringing all those stakeholders together to have a meaningful conversation about these urgent topics. Thank you.
No, those are interesting, and then we thank you for sharing what is happening in your space. Please feel free to share the link to the course, or we can email it to all those who are connected, so those who are interested can engage with it. I think there are a number of hands raised. There are a number of questions which have come in as well. So we would cross over for final concluding remarks so that we can use the remaining 30 minutes or so for our stakeholders to contribute to the discussions. So we'll go for final remarks from Prof. Kerkeb, and then we'll come to you, Professor Karin Meyers, and then we'll also ask the Secretary General to make some remarks, and then we'll dive straight into the Q&A. So over to you, Professor Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb, for your final concluding remarks.
Thank you. I want to conclude by speaking about that His Majesty King Mohammed VI was demonstrating unwavering Afro-optimism. His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, emphasized in a message addressed to participants at the fifth edition of the Cross Montana Forum in Dakhla. He said, "This century must be the century of Africa. The primary reason for this conviction is the strong demographic vitality of the continent. It has the youngest population. Our youth need to be supported, trained, empowered, and above all, valued. We must educate them to transform today's economic potential into tomorrow's reality." End of His Majesty quotes. I think it's very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that powerful contribution. We appreciate His Majesty for these wise words. We'll cross over to Eswatini. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that really the Secretary General's keynote today has addressed your address, Secretary General, really serves as a call for action. And I think, many times when we hear such speeches, we wonder what we can do. But I think your speech included many of very precise, detailed ways in which we can really do something. And I hope that by fostering a culture of inclusivity, but also enhancing research output and empowering youth through relevant education and reforming the existing systems, we as stakeholders can collectively work towards a brighter future for education in Africa. And if education in Africa has a brighter future, the whole world will have a brighter future. We know that the challenges remain significant, but they are not insurmountable. So with commitment and collaboration, we really can see transformative change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for those submissions as well. If Professor Olushola Oyewele is connected, Prof would like to hear from you as well. Any final remarks for us before we dive into the Q&A session?
Thank you very much, Dr. Felicia Kwagbezi. I first of all want to express my appreciation to the two discussants, Professor Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb and Professor Karim Ferreira Meyers. I really enjoyed your contributions and your comments on this presentation. I checked on the questions that have been raised in the comment section, and there's a particular one from Rosemary Ngara asking that this presentation should be made available to ministries of primary education and higher education in Africa. I think we may not be able to reach out to all the ministries of education in various countries, but to say that as an organization, AAU will be placing this presentation and other presentations during this week on our various social media platforms, YouTube and Facebook, and even on our website. We encourage that people could check on this to connect to these presentations of this morning and others that will be coming up today. We want to seize this opportunity to please appeal to our governments in Africa. We need to increase funding to education. Education is the key to our development in Africa. Let us increase funding to education. I also want to make a special appeal. The strength of our education depends on our teachers. It depends on our professors. These people should not be underpaid. They need to be empowered. Let us look at the welfare and the training of our teachers. For us in the university system, we cannot continue with this curricula that we inherited from our colonial masters and expect that things will be better. In fact, we cannot continue to do these things the way we are doing it before and expect a change. So every one of us need to think about changing. one thing that I did not mention in my presentation is that for us to build the Africa that is fit for the 21st century, we should start from basic education. In fact, our commitment to education should start from the primary school, go to the secondary school before we come to the tertiary level. Digitalization should really start from the primary school. Let us equip our primary school with solar system that can make it possible for our young people in the primary school to access various computers. I think that we need to be very practical. And in this presentation too, there's a group of people that we are neglecting in Africa, those who are physically impaired. Our education system does not make provision for them. It is high time that consciously we should not leave anybody behind in Africa. The marginalized communities, the physically impaired, those who are blind, those who cannot hear, those who are deaf, let us make provisions for them. Finally, I think we need to speak to the youth of Africa. The youth of Africa, you are the future of Africa. And therefore, we should ensure that you get quality education. In fact, what I will say to our young people is that don't wait to be motivated. Motivate yourself to get the best that can help you to acquire the necessary skills that you need for your future. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you. And somebody also raised a question to say that our mentors need to help us. I know that our mentors need to help us. I can see some of our elders, even on this platform. Let me especially appreciate Professor Awo from Nigeria, an elderly professor who is also connected to this platform. He was also here yesterday. We appreciate our mentors, our elders, for your great support. In concluding my final remarks, let me join the president of AAU to invite all of us to the Conference of Rectors, Vice Chancellors, President of Universities in Africa. This conference is not just for the leaders, deans of faculties, professors in universities, bursars, registrars. You are welcome to join us in Morocco in July 2025. I was at Morocco some months ago, and I tell you, many African countries need to visit Morocco and see the quality of our education. We have a lot to learn from Morocco. So we are inviting you. Join us in Morocco in July 2025 in this conference. I look forward to seeing you in Morocco, and I want to thank you for being part of this discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, and to distinguished discussants for your submissions. It has been excellent and really in-depth in terms of improving our knowledge and promoting learning and sharing with practical examples from your institution situations. We really appreciate that. We are now moving on straight into Q&A, and I see the hands popping up. We will start off with Ifeoma Agbo. Kindly unmute yourself and make your presentation. And maybe we can take 3 at a time, and then our high-level presenters and discussants can respond to them. So we'll start off with Madam Ifeoma. Madam Ifeoma, please unmute. We can see you, but we can't hear you. You are still muted, please, if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm trying. Okay.
Yes,
I think I have muted myself. Okay. Thank you, Madam Felicia. Thank to Prof, and thanks to all the discussants. Please, my question is this. I'm a lecturer at University of Port Harcourt. Is my desire to impart knowledge, especially practical knowledge. But I want to ask, what if the curriculum does not fathom or envisage or make provision for such practical impartation of knowledge? How do I go about it? I'm a lawyer by profession. You know, we deal more with a doctrinal research, but I know that there can be empiricism in our research approach. How do I now go about it in order not to maybe run against the system? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a brilliant question. We will take another from Magona Flomo. Please unmute yourself and then you can ask your question. Mr. Mogana Flomo, if you can unmute yourself, you have the floor, please. Okay, so maybe whilst he gets ready to come in and ask his question, we can start off by responding to the last question. There were a number of questions that came via the Q&A and via the chat as well. The technical team would be projecting that as well. So maybe we can start off with a response from Professor Karen Ferreira. So her main question is about how she can ensure that the students under her obtain the practical knowledge that we are speaking about, assuming it is not the curriculum doesn't allow her to do so.
I understand that she was a legal background and is teaching legal education. And I'm thinking one of the ways that is something that is doable is to set up a legal clinic where members of the community who have questions with regard to legal issues can come and be assisted by students, but of course under the leadership of one of the staff members. And this could be done, you know, in the evening, over the weekend, you know, outside the formal setting of the curriculum. So that would be one of my suggestions. Thank you.
Okay, and that is great. I don't know if anyone else wants to add up to this. Otherwise, I think Mr. Mogana, I don't know whether you are ready to speak now. We see you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me first thank the organizing committee for this very important program. Mine is not a question. I only want to make a recommendation that the Association of African Universities do everything possible to work along with the higher education institutions or higher education authorities in the different countries and the ministries as well. Most of these things are possible, but sometimes the authorities in the country are not willing to support the idea. So it becomes difficult for implementations to go on because they are policy drivers. And if they are supporting, they will encourage universities to be able to align their curriculum to current day situation, and even in the context of the country and in the context of Africa to help push our agenda ahead. So there will be a need for the AAU to really work along with the authorities to ensure that they work with the higher education institutions to achieve this goal.
Point well noted. I'm sure the SD will comment on that at the end. You did not introduce yourself, your name, your institution, and which country you are connecting from.
I'm very sorry. My name is Dr. Mogana Flomo. I'm from Liberia, and I'm the founder of the Cyprus International University.
Thank you. We are happy to note that. Next, we would like to invite Professor Sagir Abbas. Prof, if you can hear us, kindly unmute yourself, you introduce yourself, and then you proceed with your question.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. My regards to the President and the Secretary General and all of those of you in the Secretariat. One, I want to shed more light on the last question raised by the last speaker. She was talking about what she can do regarding bringing in practicals in her teaching. I think in Nigerian universities, last year and spilling to this year, there was an opportunity to review Nigerian universities' curriculum. And this was spearheaded by NUC, and all universities were given opportunity to bring in 30% of local content of all programs in the university. So this is an opportunity for her to use to bring in her idea of using practicals in teaching law. And that is one. Secondly, I posted a comment where I urge the Secretary General and maybe the President and this entire management of AAU to please find a way of engaging African governments to improve their political will, to give more to education. This can be done. I don't know how it can be done, but it's worth doing, because if the political will of African leaders is not there, no matter what we talk in this kind of gathering, we'll be wasting our time. Professor Secretary General knows, he was a vice chancellor. He knows what is the situation in Nigerian universities today. So engagement of leadership, national assemblies of all African governments to improve their political will, to see reason why we should invest more in education. And that is the only way out for us. I think they need to do more so that we get out of this mess. I'm the Vice Chancellor of Bayero University, Kano, and I'm also the current chair of CVC Nigerian Universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for those very important submissions. We really appreciate your contributions. Next, we would like to invite Professor Sonigitu Ikpe. If you are connected and if you can hear me, please, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, and greetings from Calabar. Actually, I'm not a professor. I happen to work at the Ministry of Environment, Calabar, Cross River State. I am Mr. Sonigitu Ikpe and happen to be Director of Scientific Ecology and Biodiversity. I appreciate all the comments and inputs, the delivery from all the panelists. Just a quick one. I've observed over the years that knowledge application from the university has not been properly adapted, and that's why the private sector has also not invested heavily, because linking policy to evidence-based researches are very important to solve our immediate problems. Even right at the university, there are a lot of challenges on mitigating simple environmental preservation. Secondly, as a follow-up, we have noticed that even our PhD students, as they graduate, we don't have a repository to connect the researches so that we'll be able to say, okay, these are researches that can quickly solve societal problem and how we can quickly adapt it into our policy. Thirdly, there are no linkage, because I heard the Vice Chancellor from Bayero University, what they have talked about political will. Yeah, it's very important. But it's also the professors that are sitting at high policy level, developing the documents that our politicians are using currently across the country. So I think there should be disconnects while they are looking at trying to salvage the challenges we are facing. The quality and standard of education should properly be linked. We also have our faith-based organizations that can do a whole lot. How are we connecting the dots? We see that our institutions, our environment are not properly harnessed, and people adapt quickly based on the cleanliness and closeness of what they observe from others. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikpe, for those contributions. I think I would like to invite our discussants to comment or to respond to any of the issues that have been raised so far. And then after that, we can start showing the questions that were posted via the chat. So any of them that we want to comment on, there was the first issue about the legal clinic. There has also been the call on AU to strengthen its engagement with African governments. The last speaker also touched on issues related to strengthening the linkages between university and industry and government sector, and really any of the issues that have been raised so far. Maybe we can engage with it a bit and pick the rest of the questions that came via the chat. I see Prof. Olushola is ready to speak, so Prof will start with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Professor Ifeoma Agbo's question. I will think that those of us who are teachers in our universities, we should start to make advocate for a review of the curricula through our various departments. And also, if you are present in the Senate, that's also a place where you can make an advocacy for a review of the curricula. And there are other things you can do on your own to ensure, to speak to our young people so that they acquire the necessary skills. I also want to thank Dr. Magona Flomo from Liberia. You've asked us as AAU to work with higher education authorities. And I will tell you, this is exactly one of our strategies to engage our leaders. Thirdly, let me congratulate my brother and my friend, Professor Sagir Abbas, the Vice Chancellor of the Bayero University in Kano. Congratulations on your new appointment as the chairman of the CVC. I've noted your advice to AAU that we need to engage our leaders. We need to engage people in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, for them to know how important education is to our development. We will need your support to get this done. To also appreciate Professor Mr. Ikpe from Calabar on one of the things that all of us have observed. We do a lot of researches in our universities, but the uptake of this research by both the government and the industry is quite low. I think universities will need to review their strategies and go to them. Let us not wait for them to come to us. And I think that this is one of the ways. Let us speak about what we do. Universities are too quiet. When you do great things in your university, please speak out, publicize it. Let us see what you are doing in your universities on the social media. And that's how people will know the greatest that is happening to you. I want to thank everybody, including those who have made some comments and questions on the social media, on the chat platform. We shall look at them and hopefully we shall attend to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Oyewele. I don't know whether Prof. Karen is available to comment on some of the issues as well. Yes, if you may, Prof.
I am, but I'm not sure if I'm going to add on to what has just been said. I think, really trying to get involved with our stakeholders. I think that's the main issue that we have at university level, is that, we are still somehow in an ivory tower. So we need to come down from that tower and make sure that we interact with, all the stakeholders, the ministries, the people in government, the public and private enterprises, the community in particular, so that we can get the issues that are on the ground and try and find solutions together. Not that we will bring the solution on our own. Let's try and find the solutions together. So that's my little contribution here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We would quickly read through the questions that came via the chat. Technical team, if you are available. Okay, I see the questions are popping up. This one says, Africa's contribution to global research knowledge is low. Instead of pushing to publish in Western journals, should Africa not establish its own world-class knowledge outlets focusing on the African audience? So that is one of the questions that came. Let's kindly take note, and then we'll be coming back to respond to this as well via the next round. Another question came in from Aisha Egborinola. Please, what are the practical approach on this effect? So that was specific. It followed a particular discussion that was ongoing. I would suspect that it was in terms of, equipping students with practical skills. This one is from Ernesto Graciano. Ernesto Graciano says that most of African leaders today have gone to universities. What would be the problem with the actual lack of political, economic, and technological development. Would you explain a bit more why you think that we are still divided in facing digital development? So the question is about the fact that those in leadership have actually been through the system. So what exactly is the problem, and why are they not being committed in terms of investment? And then there's also the aspect of why there's still the digital development. This next question is from Prince Ambali. Prince says that you talked to entrepreneurship and innovation in the last presentation. For the past years, I've noted that universities have started these initiatives, but when students graduate, there's a problem of startup capital. How can this problem be handled? So Prince's question is about the fact that most African universities have now sort of incorporated entrepreneurship into their curriculum, but it is still not working as we expect it to work out. Students still graduate and don't have jobs and are still waiting for employment. There are associations of unemployed graduates, even though these students have been equipped with entrepreneurship skills whilst they were in school. So what is the problem, and what should we do differently to change the narrative as higher education stakeholders? I'll take the last question that I see on the screen, which was posted via the Q&A. Our students do underage comprehensive research, but unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, they end up on the shelves. If AAU will be organizing competitions for the students, then only will we know our worth as a continent. So it's also mainly touching on the fact that we need to make visible the research and the various innovations that are being developed by students. And that's straight to the AAU in terms of what should AAU be doing to make these researches more visible. I think we can try to respond to this. If others come in, I'm really keeping track of time so that we close also at exactly 11:30, but we still do have some time. So if any of us feels ready to respond to any of the issues, that would be great. I don't know whether Prof. Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb is still connected. It would be good to hear from him on any of the issues raised. Do we have Prof here with us? Okay. Otherwise, then I would come back and travel to Eswatini for any general responses. Yeah.
Eswatini is still around. I just want to go maybe and talk a little bit about the first question about, having our own African journals, perhaps with our own criteria and standards. I think indeed, very often we try to emulate what happens in the Western world because we really want to be there and to be shown in the Western world. We must make sure that knowledge and skills in the African continent. So that means indeed establishing journals, but perhaps with different criteria, because otherwise, we're just doing the same, we're just imitating. So African journals are now seeing the light of day. The issue might sometimes be the quality. So it's very important for us to make sure we have clear criteria of what we expect from these journals and we follow through on that. Recently, we've established a journal at my university with some colleagues that looks at education and development. And I'm sorry, there's a bit of noise here, but that looks at education and development. And we will have a first publication towards the end of this year. And of course, we need young scholars and more experienced scholars to bring in their scholarship, to bring in their knowledge. But it's difficult because our universities still require people to publish in well-reputable and well-established journals. So we've got a bit of an imbalance there. On the one hand, we want to promote, African knowledge and African knowledge dissemination. But on the other hand, we don't want to venture into something new. We want young scholars to go and publish in those journals that have been established many years ago and that have that reputation. So I think that's a bit of a dilemma that we need to think about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I see there are some additional questions that have been posted. I'll quickly go through all of them and then also to provide opportunity for others connected on the call to respond to some of these issues, because these are general higher education, questions and things that we are faced with practically in our situations. So I'll quickly go through them. I already see one of stakeholders indicating their willingness to contribute. So maybe we'll just take the next 2 minutes to go through the questions. We contribute over the remaining 2 minutes and then we can end. Thank you all very much. This question says that, what are the critical problems that need to be addressed while designing the curriculum for the African youth needs? And this is from Prof. Edward Bantu Kabale from Kabale University in Uganda. There's another question which reads as follows. How can technical and vocational skills be disseminated among learners, especially girls from their early age of learning, so that they love it when they will be at the tertiary level? So it's mainly about starting early enough and catching them young, as they say, so that we don't wait till they get to the university level. I think there's the critical issue of early years, STEM education, early years development of various concepts, in that even though we are at the higher education level, what can we do to ensure that how can we invest in the early years so that by the time they get to the university and tertiary level, they have really been built to the level where we want to work with them and we want to develop skills further. And that question was from Jean-Paul Ozabikrihiru. Next question is from Francis Opogbu, who says that, thank you, Professor Oyewele. The welfare of the university teachers matters a lot. It seems some African leaders have intentionally undermined the university lecturers and their various institutions. So he is really acknowledging Professor Oyewele for touching on the issue of staff welfare for university faculty members. This is from Daniel Zuzul. He says it is undoubtedly agreeable that by refining and matching Africa's unfamiliar and significantly unearthed knowledge dense, while working hand in hand with other counterparts, if need be, would enrich and support Africa's curriculum and research potentials in a novel way for the good of humanity. So do you think this is difficult to bring out? We have 2 more, so I would go through them as well, and then we can invite responses. Matilda Owusu Bill says that with rapid advancement in AI, reshaping the future of work, how can African higher education institutions leverage AI to build resilient education systems that ensure inclusive, sustainable, quality, and relevant learning? In what ways can we as educators prepare students to be adaptable, critical thinkers capable of thriving in the 21st century workplace? What role do the policymakers have to ensure the fast tracking of proposed solutions? So it's a follow-up that there's been several solutions that have been proposed even during this discussion. What role and how do we ensure that they are fast-tracked? This is from Dr. Yinka Somorin. He says that Africa has a rich diaspora asset. How are African universities tapping into willing academics and professionals in the diaspora who are willing to contribute to teaching, research, and innovation in our Ghana? And now I take the final question. That is from Merigoriti Otiano. Greetings from Kenya. I propose that all universities offering medicine should establish cancer and reproductive centers to help solve health problems that Africa is facing and to reduce the cost of treatment abroad. Thank you. So that is a very excellent contribution and a suggestion to institutions that are offering medicine. Just to open the floor, we only have 3 minutes. I think it's a lot of questions. We may not be able to take all. Just to open the floor, in case any of our stakeholders want to respond to any of the issues, then maybe I would ask Prof, our 2 professors for a very final remark, and we can end the discussion for today. We thank you all for staying throughout. We've stayed on, we've had over 200 people connected throughout the session, and there are a lot of follow-up questions that are coming in. We really appreciate your engagement and your active participation. Would anyone want to say anything, want to contribute briefly, just within a minute, to any of the issues that have come up? There were issues related to how we can tap into our diaspora assets and a number of things, how we can fast track the solutions that have been proposed. So I'll just give a minute to all of our stakeholders connected, and then I'll come over to our presenters and we'll wrap up.
Let's speak on 2 things, please, moderator. One, on the issue of the digital divide. Let us start to introduce the use of the computers to our young learners from the primary school. Let us engage solar energy to equip our primary schools with electricity for them to be able to drive their computers. The second thing I want to say about our curricula, let us ensure that every course that is taught have learning outcomes that will deliver on the expected skills that we've identified that should be fit for Africa in the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Briefly, within a minute or so, I see 2 hands raised. Sylvia, team, if you can hear me, please go ahead to unmute yourself and then introduce yourself and make your contribution, please.
All right, greetings to everyone. I just want to say that in all that has been said today, or we've listened, if the learning environment is conducive, as the keynote speaker, Professor, mentioned about incentive and encouraging our lecturers, our teachers in the African universities, it will go a long way for us to achieve collaboration and making teachers more productive, and even being able to impact better knowledge to the learners, the students. So it's very important, the incentives, making the lecturers, as in improving their incentive, funding to universities to be able for us to achieve all the things that have been talked about today. And so I'm also particularly happy that the chairman of the vice chancellors was there, because they have contact with government. So when they have these meetings, they need to talk more with the Nigerian government, especially maybe in Nigeria, for them to increase funding and pay particular attention to teachers' welfare, lecturers' welfare, because this will go a long way to encourage productivity and making them to be more happy to impart knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution as well. We'll take the final contribution from Professor Newton Kiando.
Thank you very much. Let me join my friends well to commend the good presentation from the keynote speaker and the discussants, as well as the good questions that we have received from our fellow participants. Mine is just a small comment on the issue that is coming up on the employability of our university graduates. At one point, while I understand that there are skills that they are lacking, and that we need to kind of integrate them, inculcate them within our new curriculum as we are reviewing. But we cannot just look at them as that they are West the way they are at the moment. I think we have kind of shifted the goalposts, if one looks at it, that is it true that the product that we are giving is useless? I don't believe that. But I believe that our economy is not able to accommodate them all. So from there, then we have shifted our criteria, and actually we are kind of blaming them that they do not have enough skills. But I think if we look at how sophisticated is our economy, they still have a lot that can be accommodated, and they can contribute to the operation. But it's only that our economies, the African countries' economies, is actually is at a lower level that they cannot accommodate the new skills that are coming. So what I would look at it that when we are, and we should not shift this one into the demand for entrepreneurship, which I think as a university, it's kind of a low, it's at the lowest level of the skill that we can offer, but we should rather go for an entrepreneurial as opposed to entrepreneurship, which is actually a skill, or it's like we are looking for, we want to provide the skill for on how to buy and sell. I mean, it's a practical level. But if we shape our training into entrepreneurial skill, like an example that we had, that one was saying, I mean, the discussant from Eswatini, giving a possibility of the law students to be given assignment to handle the practical issues on legal aspect that can help them reflect on what they have learned. I think that's the way to go, as opposed to question of entrepreneurship as it is. Well, innovation, yes, but innovation within the discipline that they are carrying. If somebody is trained as a legal officer, then how? What are the innovation avenues within that setting where the person can can use the skill that has been acquired to deliver within the skill that to taking a doctor, then training that medical doctor on how to sell and buy items that are not related to medical field.
Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you very much for this exposure, and I wish we continue this setting that we share. And I also add to what other members have requested, that all this presentation, if can be shared for reflection as we take something to take with us home.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much.
Miiotsa-Mngomezulu from Tanzania Institute of Accountants in Tanzania.
Thank you very
East
much,
Africa.
Prof. Yeah, thank you very much for your contributions and for your submissions. I think there were a lot of issues that have been raised, and there are still others that you can see from the chats and from the Q&A that we still have a lot to do. All of us as stakeholders, issues have come up that requires the AAU's attention. Others are mainly for the private sector, others are for government, and then for us as higher education institutions, including even how we do our outreach to benefit those in the lower levels of education for primary school, secondary school. So there are a lot of issues that have come up. We would really pick out all the comments from the chat, and then we would engage with them through some of our other forums. And as the AAU would really summarize and move straight into action in terms of after evaluating and assessing and really coming up with a full way forward. So as we are coming to the end, I think we want to really appreciate all of us for staying throughout the session. It's been a very highly engaging session since morning all the way up to this time. There are a lot of lessons that we have all picked, a lot of practical aspects that we can take back to our institutions and implement. We want to start off by appreciating the AU president and for joining us with his opening remarks. We also want to thank Professor Olushola Oyewele for his really high-level presentation that we have engaged with it, as well as our key presenters from this morning. We had goodwill remarks from Professor Dr. Julius Davi. That was very insightful in terms of really re-emphasizing and really reminding us to regularly free our minds and to try and emancipate ourselves from mental freedom as we go about implementing our various key initiatives. And then special vote of thanks is also given to our high-level discussants, Professor Mohamed Larbi Kerkeb, who is the president of Ibn Tufayl University in Morocco. We hope we will all see you at the AAU General Conference when in Morocco. We also want to appreciate Professor Perayo Ameyes from the Institute of Distance Education, University of Eswatini, for your really high-level submissions and presentations. You've engaged very strongly with all the issues that came up. On that note, we also want to appreciate the organizing team led by Madame Dumod Lamini and all the technical team members, the interpreters, for the hard work that you have done today, as well as all of us, really. This event would not have been as successful as it has been without all of us engaging and without all of us really discussing the issues and contributing. We really want to appreciate you. Today is the day 2 of the Africa Universities Day. We still have other activities lined up for Wednesday, for Thursday, and for Friday. Wednesday and Thursday are dedicated to regional and global partners. And so we'll be having Wednesday as the regional and global partners day 1, and Thursday would be day 2. For Wednesday, just to walk us through quickly, we would be taking a presentation from Taylor and Francis on navigating medical and healthcare scholarly communication, ensuring integrity, transparency, and accessibility of research. This would be by Taylor and Francis between 9 to 10 a.m. GMT. And then between 11 and 12, we would have strategies for stimulating women's participation in STEM for sustainable development. And that will be by the AAU Southern Africa Regional Office, which is hosted by the Women's University of Africa in Zimbabwe. And then there would be a presentation by Afrobarometer on assessing the gaps Africans look for greater progress on education. So Afrobarometer will be taking us through what they have found from their research, from their data collection, as far as what the gaps are, as well as it will be followed by discussions on how to fill these gaps as well. And then finally, for tomorrow, there would be a presentation on the 21st century Pan-African education, building strong institutional frameworks for economic and educational advancement. And this will be by the Marcus Garvey Institute for Human Development and the Center for Global Africa in USA. We look forward to all of you joining these sessions tomorrow. On Wednesday as well, on Tuesday as well, on Thursday, I beg your pardon. On Thursday as well, the session starts at exactly 9 a.m. GMT with presentations from the AAU Europe Regional Office, which is hosted by the Nottingham University, as well as another one on building resilient education systems through responsible research and innovation. And that will be by the Ethical Data Institute, as well as the regional office that I mentioned. And the final session on Thursday would be by the African Charter on Transformative Research Collaboration, which would be spearheaded by the University of South Africa, UNISA, and the University of Cape Town. Then finally, on Friday, we would enjoy presentations related to initiatives contributing to educating Africans that are fit for the 21st century. We would feature the Africa Higher Education Centers of Excellence project and how it is contributing to developing Africans fit for the 21st century. There would also be another presentation by the ACT and PACWA team, as well as another one on ADIS 14 and recognition of certificates. So those, by way of announcements, those are the mini programs for the rest of the week, and we look forward to your participation in all of these. And maybe before we sign off, we can take a group picture. We could not take that yesterday. So if we are able to turn on our cameras for some group photos, it's good to document and to make activities across the continent visible, as Professor Oyewole mentioned. So if we're able to turn on our cameras shortly, the technical team would help us with photo taking sessions. Okay, we'll just give a minute for all of us to turn on our cameras. Over to you, technical team. Please, we stand to be guided by you. Okay. Thank you. We see people in their offices, people driving, people out. We really appreciate all of you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. On that note,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.